Well, for more analysis on this, let's speak to Dr. Mustafa Kaynar, who's Assistant Professor at the Middle East Institute at Sakarya University and an expert on Iranian and Middle East affairs. Thanks very much indeed for being with us. I just want to ask you a little bit about the Gulf at the moment, because we've had this continued strikes on countries within the Gulf region, and so far they've not responded directly to Iran. Do you think that restraint, if you can call it that, will continue, or do you think it will escalate further as a result of these continued strikes from Iran?
Thank you for having me. The short answer is, I think, yes, they will continue to restrain in the short term, but in the long run, I'm not sure, because what Iran tries to do here is to externalize the cost of war. Prior to this conflict, Iran had been enjoying good relations with Gulf countries. Like since 2023, there has been this normalization process with Saudi Arabia and Qatar and UAE. There hadn't been any existential problem with these countries. However, this conflict actually has changed everything, and it disrupted this normalization process, rapprochement between Iran and Gulf countries. So it is very costly for Gulf countries because, as you know, Gulf economies are mainly based on, oil and natural gas, and these sectors are terribly disturbed by this conflict, and also the financial center of, globe's business. I mean, Dubai was the, financial hub, and also it has the image of safe haven for financial business. And also Dubai's economy is based on, 98% of its economy based on non-oil sectors. So this is also very costly for United Arab Emirates. So in the short term, I'm not expecting any unified military stance against Iran, because it would also very costly. Now the Gulf countries actually are trapped between the United States, Israeli front, and Iran. But in the long run, maybe it will change.
And we've heard from President Trump that he wants to hit Iran even harder. What do you think the focus is now for this latest wave of attacks? We saw that within Tehran itself, it appears that an oil refinery an oil depot has been hit.
Yeah, you're right, Lauren. In the initial phase, actually, there was a division of labor. The United States was targeting military infrastructure, and Israel was going after command and control centers and conducting decapitation operations against Iranian leadership. But now, I think they were not expecting that kind of resilience and defiance from Iran, so they are shifting their focus on critical infrastructure facilities. They just, targeted oil refinery in Tehran and water supply centers in other parts of the country. So they are now targeting this critical infrastructure facilities so that they can make the daily life even, harder for ordinary Iranians, because, as you know, they've been living under crippling sanctions, and these recent attacks will add another layer to their sufferings. So the U.S. calculation is, I think, creating dissent among Iranian citizens.
Just briefly, can I ask you about the role that Russia might be playing here? Because Russia, clearly an ally of Iran, it hasn't necessarily intervened directly or visibly in this conflict, but there are some suggestions that it might be providing the Iranians with target information. Is that your understanding of what's happening?
So it's really difficult to verify. However, as you said, there is no visible military support for Iran. During, Ukrainian war, Iran had sent a lot of drones and allegedly some, I think it wasn't confirmed, but allegedly some missiles to Russia. So it was very visible. But At this war, we don't see any visible Russian military support for Iran. Yes, there are some reports claiming that Russia is supporting Iran at the intelligence level. However, these reports haven't been confirmed so far. So the same claims actually, go for China side. People are claiming that China supporting Iran, giving some intelligence about military positions of the United States. These are also not confirmed, but it is for sure that they are not providing visible military support or assistance to Iran so far.
Just tell me what your thoughts briefly are on where this goes next in terms of how the Iranians continue with this and how fragile or otherwise the regime is.
As you know, Iranians are seasoned with this kind of prolonged conflicts. They fought 8 years against Iran during 1980s, as you know, and they, have conducted so many proxy wars in the region. And as I said before, the Iranians are, living under harsh conditions, economic conditions. They are very seasoned and trained for this kind of, protracted wars. I think they have been preparing for a very long battle. So my estimation is their resistance is strong. But who knows? It depends also on the other side's attacks. Volume and intensity. So they are now intensifying their attacks on Iran. They are, escalating. So it's really difficult to, predict. But I believe that Iranians have been preparing for this battle for over at least 20, 30 years.
Dr. Mustafa Khanna, thank you very much indeed for your thoughts there.